Okay, boys and girls, today we're going to talk about motorcycle gloves. Well, whenever we buy a gear or we try and look for a gear, there are two ways to look at it. One is the perception of what a customer thinks a good protective gear is, and secondly, the reality of it. Now, there would be, for experts, there would be very marginal difference between these two perceptions and these two facts. But for most of the people, these facts sometimes are marginally distant. Today, we are going to talk about what are the things that at least I, after so many years, look for wherever I buy a good motorcycle glove. Okay, so whenever we are to buy a new pair of gloves, and whenever we are to understand what are the things that we should look at, there are primarily four things that I at least look at. So these are the four things that I look at whenever buying a new glove. The number one fact is the overall construction. If I am to buy something for super sports like my 6R, I would buy something in leather. If I'm buying something for my KTM and which is for all season, I might go to Ladakh wearing it. I might go to Kanyakumari wearing it, or whatever. I would buy an all-weather steel glove, which has a waterproof membrane. But irrespective of whatever season or whatever motorcycle I'm buying it for, there are a few things that you should always look at whenever you're buying this new pair of gloves. Number one part, as I said, is an overall construction. But my inner pad always has to be leather, some sort of leather. Not that bullshit, synthetic bullshit, but I think a pure leather always works for me. Now, I know for rainy seasons that's not viable, but there are other options as well for rainy seasons. But for general use, I always prefer a leather uh, built glove. The premiumness increases and also the cost increases if it is either a kangaroo or a goat leather. Kangaroo is the most expensive one. This is a kangaroo leather because the kangaroo leather is the most strongest and also the softest leather. So I prefer wherever the inner palm is, wherever the palm area is of kangaroo leather, and there could be cow leather on the front part. The second requirement that I have is the sliders. Now, as I said, there's a difference between what customers perceive as great and what the facts are. This is one of those differences. Perfect example. A slider is very important because it's just not a fancy thing. It's just not for sliding through or not getting your inner palms hurt, but it has a greater use. Because you see, whenever unfortunately you crash, your first reflex of the body reflexes and your palms go out. When the palms go out, generally in gloves which do not have sliders, due to the friction of the road or whatever, your hand sometimes might stride on. So you might land on something and your hand might stride on, which might break these bones for you. Now, the slider helps you avoid this, and hence slider for me is one of the most important parts. The third part that I look at is the overall ventilation. I think we all know we live in a country where we need a lot of ventilation, especially when it's leathers. There is a lot of humidity, there is a lot of heat, and hence the palms get sweaty and the material gets sweaty and the overall life of the gloves go down. But you live with it, The only part that you can help with is if the glove has a lot of ventilation. And the fourth part that I look at whenever I am buying a new motorcycle glove is the length of it. Now, I always do not wear gauntlet. I have a gauntlet here. I have a wrist level or a wrist glove, a wrist length glove. This is a wrist length glove. This is from Rhinox. We'll talk about it. This is also MX is also. So gauntlets are generally used for super sports and for track rides and even city rides, where you don't have to have the movement of your wrist. Because what happens is when if you're standing wearing this gauntlet and if you are riding adventure, the gauntlet will not allow you, and hence this is a hindrance. Also, the CE2 rating comes down to CE rating whenever the glove goes half. But yeah, that's one of my fourth important pointers which I look at whenever I'm buying a new glove. Now that we have talked about what are the things that I look at, let's just talk about the various kind of gloves that we have. So as I said, these are the gauntlet gloves. Great for track rides, great for city rides, and only for super sports where your wrist movement is not include. You don't need a lot of wrist movement. Best protection always comes in C2 level. Look for these sliders, and even if you have the pinkies attachment, that's great. You have these finger sliders, you have these wrist sliders, and you have the overall protection. The second thing, the second kind of glove that I have is this. These are the wrist length gloves. So it has everything that a good gauntlet glove has. It has all the protection for the wrist, for the knuckles, for fingers. These are all the sliders. But as I said, you need this when you're looking for various kind of riding types. So the movement of the wrist and that liberation, if I may use that word. It's great for all weather things. And if you don't need a gauntlet glove, I think you should try this because this would, and especially if you have two different kind of motorcycles or the same motorcycle that you ride in different terrains and you take it to different terrains. I think this one glove, when it comes to protection and when it comes to versatility, nothing can beat this. The third kind of glove that we have is the Rhinox. I use this. I named this brand because this is in India. It is an Indian brand. It is all again all things. It has the sliders, not the plastic sliders or the metal sliders, but these are fabric sliders. I would not bank upon these a lot. These are basically for hot season, for a long touring ride where you know you're not going to ride fast. And for that comfort, these are great. It has basic level of protection, worth the price. And the fourth kind of glove that we have is the MX glove. These don't have any kind of protection on the knuckle area, on the front fingers, nothing. And these are not meant to be. These are meant to be more comfortable again for the wrist movement, for the finger movement. It has some protection, some bit of protection on the palm side, on the wrist, so that you don't slide and you so don't burn. Again, it is again meant for dirt riding basically and trail riding. I would not and never use them in city riding. Never use them in long tours. So yeah, these are the kind of gloves that we have. All these are yeah. Also, these are all my gloves. I've not been sponsored. I have bought these gloves out of a lot of research and at various stages of my life. So if you have any question related to what kind of things that you should look more, budget versus what brand, what kind of model, and if you have any question related to any kind of gloves that you're willing to buy, put in your queries in my comment. I will try to answer them one by one, and I'd be sure that I'd try to help you in some way or the other. I am not sponsored and I don't have these discount codes and stuff like that. I don't have this video is and this and more videos that I've made is only for helping you guys out. So I would need your help. Please like, subscribe, and share the video. Subscribe because I really need subscribers and this gives me motivation to make more videos. Till the next time we meet, peace.